Yeah, I think Surfetch deserves a lot of attention because it's such a powerful Pokemon. It's got such unique flexibility, but it does require Protect Shields to keep it in matchups because it doesn't have a lot of HP. Its defense stat is not admirable, but it's a very, very brave duck when it does appear on the field there. As we see the teams unfolding, what do you think? If you're watching at home, do you think that Surfetch has played? Do you think that Zygomatic's Scrafty might be the key Pokemon here? Let us know what you think. Get involved. Hashtag play Pokemon. This is the first ever North American International Championship for Pokemon Go, so let's bring the hype, let's get excited.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up Scrafty as well, because again, signature Pokemon for Zygomatic, I think definitely is going to be that Scrafty, and has a interesting matchup against the Pokemon on Andrew's side of the field. You know, it really does feel like this game one could be either trainer's game, and it comes down to just what they're thinking, what their mindsets are, and what their strategies are. Surfetch, Trevenant out on the field already for this game one of Losers Finals, and I hope we see both of them stay in for a little bit of time, because look at that Surfetch go.
Look at Surfetch swinging that sword there. He's going to get to this Night Slash really rapidly. Trevenant actually going to decide to no shield here. Now again, only a 12.5% chance of getting that Night Slash boost, so it's safe to kind of absorb that first one, because if that occurs, Surfetch just gets more and more aggressive as the game goes on. Now let's see what Andrew decides to do. Again, we talked about this before the set began. Surfetch really requiring Protect Shields to stay in matchups.
And that's exactly what Andrew is going to do. We'll find the second Night Slash here, and Trevenant is already so low. I don't see Zygomatic investing in a shield, but he does. So trying to get that Surfetch off the field, I mean, look at his back line. It's going to be the Registeel and the Shadow Swampert. You have to get rid of this Pokemon if you want a favorable matchup. Assuming your opponent doesn't have a plan B, which Surfetch is down, it's time for that plan B.
And we can see Zygomatic maybe breathing a sigh of relief. Nidoqueen comes out, and again, because Andrew's Pokemon fainted first, Nidoqueen appears, and Zygomatic gets control of alignment, and he's happy to send out that Shadow Swampert.
Will find a Hydro Cannon prior to the use of a Poison Fang or a Earth Power on this Shadow Nidoqueen, and Andrew forced to shield so that does not knock out. Andrew, looks like that was a charge move priority event there. That Earth Power now coming out from the Shadow Nidoqueen. Last second shield onto the Shadow Swampert. I think Shadow Swampert just wins this matchup now. There are no more shields in play.
And the key there is pacing, but no, Andrew is going to shake things up, switching it to the Azumarill there. And again, just to echo your point, that was a great call on the Earth Power. When you have Shadow Pokemon on the field, you have to be a little more sensitive because these charge attacks will deal more damage. Gathering energy, banking that Hydro Cannon for a rainy day, and then bringing in the Registeel here.
All right, so now both these trainers know the Pokemon that their opponent brought into this matchup, and as a result, I think the win conditions are slowly revealing themselves. Andrew not going to be able to find a lot of damage with this Azumarill, and will be taking a ton of damage from the Zap Cannon in addition to that attack drop. It's looking like it's all going to be down to this Shadow Nidoqueen to find 2 knockouts, which is a really tall ask.
It's a very tall ask, especially because we've seen Swampert have such a high attack stat, and it did gather that Hydro Cannon energy before switching out. So if Swampert meets that Nidoqueen and the Nidoqueen cannot deliver a charge attack first, it's going to be very, very tough to get the KO. As we do see the lock-ons going all the way through that Azumarill's HP. Registeel just whittles away at the Water Fairy type.
And has that Focus Blast all set to go with the send-in of this Shadow Nidoqueen. That's going to deal enough damage for that knockout, and Zygomatic taking game 1 of 5 in the loser finals. I really loved his play there. I loved how he had the 2 Pokemon that were weak against that Surfetch in the back, and he was able to find just the amount of time to pick up that knockout. You know, if I'm looking back at that game, I think that was the key turn for Zygomatic to take the lead.
I couldn't agree more. When you have that shared weakness there, Counter being such a great fast attack in Pokemon Go, other attacks like Charm or Volt Switch, Razor Leaf, Incinerate, these fast attacks are so powerful that a lot of Pokemon are weak to them, and if you aren't prepared for them, they can really kind of ramp up and do a lot of damage to your team. So that Trevenant matchup, Andrew probably didn't realize it in the moment, but Zygomatic hung his hat on that matchup there. He needed to win that battle there, and then that set him up for success in the back half of the match, just like you mentioned.
Yeah, so going into game 2 now, Andrew, I think he had the right idea with that Surfetch. It, again, on paper, it looks awesome. But in game 2, I don't think you can necessarily take that risk again. You tried it out. That was your one game where, maybe the stakes weren't as high, but now your back's against the wall and you really need to start finding those advantages. And as awesome as it would be to have Surfetched in alignment with that Swampert and that Registeel, I think Zygomatic has confidently demonstrated that that's just not something he's going to allow.
I absolutely agree. I think that these trainers, again, are picking up on tendencies. They're watching for alignment, what these trainers prefer to do. We've seen, for example, not on the stage right now, but previously, it's Axen really only saving those Protect Shields for the last few moments, not valuing switch advantage very much. In my mind, Gabby, there are 3 pivotal components of Pokemon Go PvP: energy advantage, switch advantage, and shield advantage. So these trainers will try to leverage those 3 points throughout the matchup, and that tells you a lot about their individual styles.
It does, and I really love how there are so many ways you can approach this game, because I think if you're new to the game, these subtleties just don't jump out at you. I think that you will throw the charge moves immediately because they're available to you. You'll go for the shields immediately because they're available to you, and maybe you'll think about switching, but let's be real, nobody thinks about switching. I certainly don't when you're first starting out. So it's really cool to look at these games from that perspective and then take those learnings back to my own learning of play and starting to think, okay, how can I make this work? But while we get started with this game too, real quick, Gumi versus Porygon, who's going to win that matchup?
Oh, definitely Porygon, right?
All right, we are in alignment. Cool.
All right, you see the Talonflame on the field versus the Surfetch. This Talonflame, being a flying type Pokemon, is just slightly out of reach for the Surfetch, but it will stay in for a moment here, making the switch out actually to absorb this Flame Charge. What a great swap.
Great timing, aware of just how many turns that Talonflame needs to find Flame Charge. Will get the attack bonus, but will be taking neutral damage from Powdered Snow and Icicle Sphere. So this is a great opportunity for this Walrein to go for those big attacks. One more Flame Charge here from Zygomatic, but Andrew, I think, very confidently going for that shield, as otherwise it's possible Walrein could be knocked out.
Exactly right. Talonflame, a fire-type Pokemon, continues to turn up the heat here as those flame charges come through. The second one just applied. Let's see if Talonflame can reach a third, or if these neutral Powder Snows are going to get the better of it. Walrein just pacing so quickly is going to get to this next charge attack.
Yeah, one unfortunate thing about Talonflame is that even though its fast moves get so much energy, they take so long, and Walrein just able to find time in between those attacks to go for that damage. We have Shadow Swampert on the field against the Walrein on Andrew's side. It's in the red, probably unable to take this Hydro Cannon, and I think Andrew making the right call there, saving that shield for later.
Shadow Swampert is on the field, but don't forget that Surfetch has a lot of charge energy stored, and he does throw it out here. Now this is interesting, right, because we're throwing a Night Slash with the Surfetch, but that Shadow Nidoqueen, we've seen it defeat Trevenant in the past. Does Andrew reach for the switch here, knowing that the Surfetch is the best Pokemon against the Swampert? And he does.
Zygomatic, though, has both of his shields available to him, and even though the Shadow Nidoqueen should be able to knock out this Trevenant with a couple of fast moves, no shield off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Nidoqueen in the red. Andrew in such a tough position, knowing that that Surfetch has so low health. I don't think it has enough energy for a Leaf Blade. Certainly not 3 of them.
Absolutely, as we see those 2 Protect Shields just hanging over that Swampert, kind of like the protection, the shield that is just really going to power it through this matchup. Surfetch might have to rely on the fast attacks, if I'm being honest. Gabby, look at this play, going for the Night Slash, trying to get a boost to increase the strength of these counters and power through that HP.
I think that's the play. You just gotta hope that that works out in your advantage. We'll be able to find a second Night Slash before this Swampert will get an attack, but I saw the Hydro Cannon available to Zygomatic. If that Swampert's not within 1 fast move of knockout range, then I think Zygomatic takes this. It's close, it's close, it's out!
It is out. Swampert is off the field. The counter damage was just too much as Swampert, despite those Protect Shields, just unable to withstand that attack from Surfetch. I just want to point out again, depending on how you build your team, you can have charge attack oriented Pokemon, fast attack oriented Pokemon. Surfetch doesn't care how many shields you have, Gabby. He's going to fight his hardest through them to get the victory.
And I think that is really the key to how Andrew is playing this Pokemon. I don't think he had the opportunity to position it like that in game 1, but now in game 2, there was already enough damage on the field that, yes, you can take out half a Pokemon's health with those counters, but because it's the second half of the Pokemon's health, that works out better. So I really love the adjustment of Andrew just bringing that Surf Edge in the back. I think that's something he should continue to do moving forwards. And you know, looking at Zigamatic's team, yeah, maybe the Talonflame is your best response to that fighting type Pokemon essentially, but if you're leading it again, that's going to be tough.
No, I agree, and the Surf Edge applies more than just fast attack pressure. We do see if you go down Protect Shields, if you are at a deficit or if you have no Protect Shields remaining, Swampert does not want to absorb a Leaf Blade. Trevenant takes so much damage from Night Slash due to Surf Edge high attack stat. It's very, very tough to go down Protect Shields, so you want to invest in your Talonflame, ramp up those Flame Charges and give it protection, but it leaves the rest of your Pokemon vulnerable. So how do you think he can respond to this? Does Zygomatic need to make a hard call and introduce that Alola Ninetales, or find a victory a different way?
I think you go a different route. As much as I would love to see the Alolan Ninetales and how I think that could also match the kind of strategy that Andrew is bringing, I don't think Alolan Ninetales is necessarily the consistency play. You know, we saw Zygomatic drop down to the loser side of the bracket because he brought that Alolan Ninetales and because he lost that consistency. So knowing that that loss is heavy on your mind, I don't think you take that risk. And as we get this game started, it's going to be Walrein and Shadow Swampert out on the field. Again, Game 3 Losers Finals at the North American International Championships. Instant switch into the Trevenant.
Instant switch out to bring out that Grass and Ghost type Pokemon to face off against the Walrein. This is really tough though for Zygomatic because the Walrein's going to outpace the Trevenant and deal super effective damage, going to peel away these Protect Shields rapidly.
Well, it looks like Zygomatic did take the risk. That Alolan Ninetales is hanging out in the back of his party. Will not be making an appearance yet. Instead, this Trevenant going for a Shadow Ball against the Sableye on Andrew's side of the field. And we see Andrew use that first Protect Shield of the game. That would have been a resisted attack otherwise. And just barely missing the opportunity to Shadow Claw for the knockout onto that Trevenant, finding a second Shadow Ball. No shield in the red. This is going to be so close. The Sableye just barely getting the knockout first.
Oh my goodness, Sableye barely hangs on due to that dark sub-typing. It's able to withstand that attack, but my goodness, is it weak. Oh, going right for this attack as well. This is a critical shield call for Zygomatic. Does he know? This is the return. Is he going to shield it? Let's see. No shield.
He's saving it for later, which I gotta respect, knowing that the Alolan Ninetales is in the back, but that Swampert really needed the help.
Now, this is a lot of work for the Alolan Ninetales to do. That Walrein does have so much HP. Let's see if the Earthquake gets shielded up here, or if Zygomatic thinks this is an Icicle Spear bait.
I don't know. It's a tough call. I mean, do you play it safe or do you take the risk? I love taking it safe, though, because, again, it's game 3 out of 5. You need the consistency plays here. Azumarill out on the field now. It's going to take, what, 2 Psyshocks, I believe, to pick up that knockout? So very smartly using the Psyshock right as Azumarill has Play Rough available to it, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough.
Absolutely. Psyshock getting Protect Shielded up there. That's the final Protect Shield. So all these charge attacks that come through here are going to be unabated. And the reason that's so important is because there is still a very low HP Swampert in the back for Zygomatic as that switch timer gets closer to expiring. Can he make a switch and send that Azumarill's energy to that weakened Pokemon instead?
All right, well, here is the second Psyshock. No more shields remaining on Andrew's side of the field. It's gonna take one more, approximately. No charge move, instead the switch into the Ice Beam. Very well played there by Andrew, waiting to see if Zygomatic was gonna make that switch.
Watching and waiting, in comes the Alolan Ninetales. The problem here, though, is that the Alolan Ninetales is almost out of HP. Walrein comes in, and it's gonna freeze out the Ice type.
All right, that will be Andrew's win. He is now up 2-1. One more win will take him into the grand finals here. That was, again, that was so close. And again, I do love the risk-taking of that Alolan Ninetales, but it just wasn't able to find the damage that Zygomatic needed again. That Pokemon has one of the most powerful fast moves in the game with Charm, but it's just not finding its mark.
Well, let's just speak to team composition. That was game 3, and we did see the Surfetch'd appear in both games 1 and 2, but Alolan Ninetales came in looking for a target, and it was left empty. Nowhere to go except dealing some neutral damage, and in the end, it was just such a tall order to take down both the Azumarill and the Walrein, two of the best, most balanced Pokemon in the Open Great League.
Yeah, and going into this game 3, do you think that we'll see those two Pokemon again? I mean, consistency. You want to be able to consistently find your way into the grand finals. I don't think Andrew is in a position where he really needs to take any risks right now.
I don't think so either. Andrew essentially has a little bit of breathing room here. Even if he loses this next game, he can take a decisive Game 5 victory. But again, so many things can change. This is history in the making, and you want to leave your mark. So he's got to make all the right calls here in what could be a decisive battle.
So let's talk about calls then. So Zygomatic. What do you think he's locking into, knowing that if he loses this game, he is out of this tournament?
I think Zygomatic needs to reach for the Trevenant. Such key neutral play across the board, but he hasn't managed his Protect Shields as well. Is this a good opportunity for his opponent to bring that Alolan Ninetales again? Maybe you can line it up in a favorable matchup this time, or maybe you can bring that Surfetch'd and kind of find a good position for that as well. It's going to be interesting. One of our trainers is already locked in, the other one taking just a couple more moments. You need to get this right if you want to make it to the grand finals.
You know, I would love to see Surfetch'd again, if only because it's a signature Pokemon. You want to use your favorite Pokemon to take you to the grand finals, but instead a bit of a classic matchup we have here for game 4, Talonflame versus Registeel.
This used to be Talonflame's game, but now that Registeel does have access to that exclusive Zap Cannon, it can shock it right out of the sky. And we do see another swap out into the Walrein to absorb this charge attack, predicting that the Brave Bird is resisted. I think Andrew knows this is a Flame Charge.
And perfect timing, banking the Zap Cannon for later. Registeel now out on the field for Zygomatic, so both these trainers bringing that powerful Pokemon with them, arguably one of the best Pokemon in the Great League format, opting for Focus Blast over Zap Cannon here. We see the shield use on the Walrein. I would have thought that having the attack drop here might be more valuable, especially if this Walrein is looking for an Earthquake, but I guess it all comes down to shields now. Zygomatic still has 2. Will he choose to use one?
I think Zygomatic recognizes that regardless of the debuff here, still one of those Earthquakes can be withstood by the Registeel. The Icicle Spear is resisted. It's not quite enough to secure the knockout, so he's content here getting another Focus Blast and maybe taking away that final Protect Shield.
All right, well, there's the Focus Blast, there's the shield. Walrein should have the opportunity to reach this Earthquake here for the knockout, but Andrew taking his time, opting to go for the Icicle Sphere, as that's going to cost less energy overall, meaning this Walrein could fire off a second, possibly even a third attack into whatever's coming in next.
And that must have just barely been enough, because the Registeel is known for its bulk, and we do see 2 Powder Snows and an Icicle Spear here. Again, these trainers know their own turn counts and their opponents so well that they have optimized to a high degree.
I wonder if a Flame Charge from this Talonflame will be enough for the knockout. It looks like Talonflame should be able to take a second Icicle Sphere, and I gotta love how Zygomatic is saving those shields for his last Pokemon in the back, but yeah, that's definitely within knockout range, I think, from Flame Charge.
Yeah, I think the heat is too much here for the Ice and Water type. Walrein does get KO'd, and we're going to see another Pokemon appear here. And reaching for that Trevenant, just pounding that switch button. He says, bring out the Trevenant. Here it is. Registeel responds immediately with a charge attack. This is definitely the Zap Cannon. Zygomatic has used his Protect Shields because they do not carry over to the next battle.
I know, that's something I have to keep reminding myself of too here, but knowing that your opponent doesn't have any shields remaining, I think Zygomatic is pretty safe to go straight for these Shadow Balls, as they will be doing more damage even with the attack debuff in play. I think going to need to find one more in order to secure that KO, so I guess the big question is, we know what Andrew's last Pokemon is. I'm not sure if Zygomatic has an idea and if he's really keeping the Pokemon around that he needs to win those matchups.
And look at this, it's so significant that Trevenant just lost so much HP, because in comes a Sableye, super effective Shadow Claws, and we've seen the Shadow Ball before. Sableye sub-dark typing really helps it in this matchup. Is Sableye going to shred through this Trevenant?
I think it's going to. I mean, yes, it's down to half of its health, but 1-2 Shadow Claws for that knockout. Talonflame is the only Pokemon remaining for Zygomatic, but look at how low its health is. It's not even going to be able to find a charged move. And Andrew moving on into the grand final finals here at the North American International Championships, coming in all the way from Mexico and making it to the top.
Making it to the top here, making history at the North American International Championships. I just want to pick up on this tendency we've seen Zygomatic be almost reluctant to use those Protect Shields. Andrew recognizes that, throws that Zap Cannon, drains so much HP away from the Trevenant, and just like we saw earlier with Surf Edge against Swampert, sometimes the Protect Shields are a non-factor. You can use your fast attacks to win battles.